Woods Cove, a special neighborhood with special rules. Millionaire land baron Henry Cowell owned more than 80,000 acres of land in Northern California. Thousands of those acres were redwood forests in Santa Cruz County. Parts of his massive real estate holdings became Henry Cowell State Park, Fall Creek Park, and the UC Santa Cruz. The Cowell Foundation manages the remaining real estate today. In the early 1990s, it partnered with a nationally known home builder, Standard Pacific, with the idea of carving out a tiny piece of land along Graham Hill Road for a small housing development. This was the conception, to use a biologic metaphor, of Woods Cove. The birth process was extraordinarily long and painful. It took 10 years of war. The parcel that Cowell Foundation wanted to develop was 172 acres. It might have supported hundreds of homes. However, the planners and politicians of Santa Cruz County were focused on preserving as much of the undeveloped land in the county as possible. Woods Cove was situated right at the edge of a huge undeveloped forest, as you can see from this satellite image. About 4,000 acres were already permanently preserved, mostly as state parks and preservation easements with private landowners. However, the planners wanted to protect every acre possible. They were particularly concerned about this parcel, which was perched on the steep eastern side of the San Lorenzo River Valley. Woods Cove formed a part of the river's watershed. The city of Santa Cruz takes its water from the river just below the Woods Cove property. It was understandably concerned that the new development not adversely affect the water quality. After the first round of battles, the number of homes was reduced to 60. Large fractions of the parcel were ruled as ineligible for building, for a variety of reasons. The forested parts were to remain largely untouched. But the county planners still feared that even this small development would scar the county. They insisted that the houses be set back from Graham Hill Road by demanding that all the flat land along the road be permanently dedicated to a coastal prairie preservation easement and a coastal oaks preservation easement. They demanded that about 20 acres be dedicated as a park to be managed by the Horsemen's Association. The net effect was to isolate most of the homes to a narrow strip behind stands of trees. They stated that an important goal was to preserve the view of the live oaks and prairie grasslands from the road. They wanted Woods Cove to be as invisible as possible. The county then worried that the neighborhood would impair the free migration of wild animals. Their solution? Prohibit perimeter fences, except for open rail fences, which permit easy access for animals of all sizes. This was important enough to become a firm requirement in the governing documents. The Planning Commission report in 1996 approved the project in principle, but first required that the developers accept and fulfill 74 pages of restrictions, limitations, and demands. The developers agreed in principle. However, the first homes would not be built for another 7 years. What was the fighting over? Among other things, the Planning Commission decided that it wanted detailed control over the CC&Rs. In a typical housing project, the developer produces a set of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, largely designed to protect the neighborhood from individual homeowners who might allow their property to become a liability for the neighborhood. In this case, the county wanted to be directly involved in the creation of this document to reflect their vision for the development. They wanted to be sure that homeowners were tightly reined in. The Planning Commission actually wrote the most restrictive parts of the CC&Rs. The county had specific requirements for all sorts of restrictions on the development of private lots. For instance, they not only specified the development envelopes and setbacks, but they wanted to control the architectural appearance of the homes and the landscaping. The planners restricted what species of plants could be used, both inside and outside the development envelope. They regulated fencing. They specified what colors of paint could be used, demanding neutral colors that blended with the natural colors of the environment. They even focused on relatively minor details, for example, clotheslines. But most importantly, they wanted to preserve the natural woodland character of the area and harmonized with the undeveloped areas. They then imposed a requirement that gave the county ultimate control. The CC&Rs state that the architectural design requirements cannot be changed without the formal approval of the Board of Supervisors. Planners did not want to allow the homeowners to change the rules of the game at a later date after the subdivision was built. This formula of tight restrictions on building and landscaping has both proponents and foes. Some of the original homeowners moved here specifically because they loved the environmental protections, and they felt their property values were safer here than in a wide open development. They wanted to be sure that a few neighborhood homes would not fall into disrepair or become eyesores. Others chafed at the restrictions. They wanted the freedom to build or change their property as they saw fit. But the CC&Rs were recorded in August of 2002. Almost 2 decades have gone by since Santa Cruz County imposed its restrictions on Woods Cove. The neighborhood has evolved somewhat, and some of the details of the restrictions probably need to be updated. Does Santa Cruz County still hold to the same philosophy? Do the planners still care about the wildlife in Henry Cowell Park that periodically walk through the neighborhood? What about the endangered tarweed plant and the evil French broom? Is the appearance of the neighborhood and the landscaping still important to them? In truth, no one really knows exactly where either the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors stand. If Woods Cove asks for freedom to control its own fate, would the county allow that freedom? What we do know is that the battle between Standard Pacific and the Planning Commission consumed thousands of man-hours and likely cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It took 10 years of conflict. It seems unlikely that the county will allow that legacy to disappear on a whim. What will happen now? Those who want sweeping change will probably have to prepare themselves for another long and expensive battle. Thanks for watching.